Namaste, Saraswati, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Harinam Sankirtan Yagyaji Jai. He said, Harinam Sankirtan. Harinam Sankirtan Yagya. Harinam Sankirtan Yagya. So, we have after basically usually we put our left side. We go that way too, but that's how we usually do. Let's do it. Let's do the so we will do it. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Thank you, Sean. Hare Krishna. Thank you all so much for joining us today. You've been here before, I'm looking at you. Oh, awesome. My name is Rishi Kumar Das. What is your name? Aida. Where are you from? Very fortunate to have you here. Have you read any of the Bhagavad Gita? So yeah, we'll discuss a little bit of the Bhagavad Gita. Then there will be an arti ceremony and then a big prasad of peace. Shri Shri Gauranitai ki jai. The Bhagavad Gita is a conversation between
Krishna
and who's the hearer?
Arjuna.
And Arjuna, one of the greatest personalities that and Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. And so he's giving such a great hearer, the perfect hearer, giving him knowledge. We'll discuss it a bit, and before we do, we say some prayers on the first page of the Bhagavad Gita.
Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena
That means I was born in the darkest ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes to the torch of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. When will Srila Rupa Goswami Prabhupada, who has established within this material world missions filled with the desire of Lord Chaitanya, give me shelter and peace on his feet? So this is a very important principle of Gita, or for making the best success of our life in general, is to find, serve, and inquire from a bona fide spiritual master. So Arjuna is confused in the beginning. One of the things Krishna explains is spiritual master, someone who has seen the truth. Find that person, render service unto them, and inquire from them. They can impart knowledge unto you because they have that knowledge. They've seen. They know Krishna. So, just like if you want to know some big person, president, if you want to have a personal meeting with him, we go through his secretary. If you just walk into the White House, where is he? Show me Mr. Biden, I'm here, I'm ready to learn. But if you go through his secretary, then when the secretary tells you, yes, the president will meet you on this date, because the secretary is authorized by his word is just as good. So you know, okay, I'll meet him on this day, and yeah. So, in the beginning of the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 1, observing the armies on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. So this happened 5,000 years ago, when the Supreme Personality of Godhead was having his personal appearance on men. So we understand that we're actually very fortunate to be here, the same planet, that cause of all causes, the Supreme Master, is personally present. We're here not too long after, 5,000 years. So we have a chance to perfect our human form of life by following the instructions of the person whose all of life is coming. So, does anyone know where the first verse of the Bhagavad Gita? Yeah, the first verse here, Dharma Kshetra, Guru Kshetra. But you're wrong, actually. Because it's saying here, Dhritarashtra said, O Sanjaya, after assembling the place of pilgrimage at Kurukshetra, what did my sons and the sons of Pandu do, being desirous to follow? So that's what the Dhritarashtra said. This is Bhagavad Gita. So this is interesting detail. In case you have to do this. They ask, where does Bhagavad Gita start? And we can see it starts with when Krishna is speaking. Krishna's Bhagavan is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So his first instructions to Arjuna come a little bit later on. But we're setting a scene here in chapter 1. We're observing the armies on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. So there's 3 important persons who live in these armies. One, most important. Most important person who's observing the armies is Krishna. And then we also have Krishna's most dear friend, Arjuna. He's also observing the armies. But they're observing differently. And then there's also Dhritarashtra and his son. Duryodhana. There were so many inauspicious omens. Jackals were howling. There was thunderstorms. Everything was terrible. And these omens mark they give a warning that this person who's born now, he will be the end of this world. So those who were acknowledged, this Duryodhana, these attacks, better. Just like when you have a disease in the body, some tumor or something, better to cut it off. So Duryodhana, he was destined to be the end of his whole dynasty. So many sages told his father Dhritarashtra, you know, if you actually let it go, leave him somewhere, get rid of it. But because there's a principle that to save a family, get rid of one person. Save a village, get rid of one family, to save the whole. So you can forget, turn to save the soul. Yeah, he gives this instruction. And to save the soul, you can turn your back. So we see there's priorities. So he said, Duryodhana, he will bring about the end of the dynasty to get rid of it. But we see now how Dhritarashtra is observing him. Dhritarashtra, he was so attached to Duryodhana. He had this material attachment. Therefore, he couldn't do the right thing.
Everything, this is not going to go well. He's a big demon. Everything he does is against righteous principles and against religion. And Dhritarashtra could understand this. Okay, he'll destroy everything. He's going against God. Nothing good will come of this. But still, he said, no, I'll keep him around. So Dhritarashtra, he had this material attachment. And therefore, even though he knew what the right thing was to do, he couldn't do it. So Duryodhana is also like that. He's also materially attached for some different reasons. He's thinking, okay, he's envious for one. He's envious of the Pandavas. He wants their kingdom. And so he's attached to things like this: name, fame, glory. I want people to worship me. I want lots of wealth. In this way, Duryodhana is materially attached. So because of this, they're both going against the instructions of Krishna. And not only are they materially attached, but Duryodhana, he also has this envy. He's envious of the Pandavas. Even if he gets their kingdom, still he won't be satisfied. He wants to make sure they're out, they're done for, there's no happiness in their life. He's envious of them. So this quality of enviousness it's the source of all of our problems in the material world. It's more or less why we come to the material world, as we understand that the living entity is a part and parcel of Krishna. So Krishna is permanent, he's eternal, and every living being is also permanent or eternal. But in the material world, we see the living entity has somehow or other fallen into a temporary atmosphere. Even though their nature is eternal, every living being is stuck in a temporary place with a temporary body. So what is it that makes us end up in such a strange foreign atmosphere? If we're eternal, if we're naturally full of bliss and full of knowledge, just like Krishna, the living entities are the same quality of Krishna, then how is it that we're in an atmosphere that's totally different than that quality? It's temporary. Instead of bliss, there's pain and all of these things. How is it that we end up here? Well, it's because of the misuse of the living entity's independence. Instead of loving Krishna and serving Krishna, because of developing this quality of envy, thinking, wait, how is he the center? I want to be the center. I want to be the enjoyer. I want to be the proprietor or the controller. Then the living entity comes to this material world where they can act with these qualities. They can try to be the enjoyer. They can try to be the center of everything. So this quality is the root of all of our problems, actually. And Duryodhana and Dhritarashtra, they had this material attachment and also this envy. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains what our main problems are as well. We're in this material body. Is there's lust, there's anger, and there's greed. And these things are binding the conditioned soul to this material world. They're keeping us down. But the source of all of these is envy. Because of envying the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then we get lust. We think, okay, he's naturally the supreme enjoyer. But because of envying him, we think, wait, I want to be the enjoyer. And then when that lust isn't satisfied, one gets anger. This is explained in the second chapter. So my desires aren't satisfied. Something is going against I'm envious of the situation and the circumstances I'm in, and I get anger. And then greed. I'm envious of other living entities, and I get greedy. I think, he has such a nice kurta. Has everyone seen Magadari's kurta? It's very nice. And I think, how did he get such a nice kurta? And I have to go get 5,000 kurtas. Very nicely buttoned. So we envy another living entity, and then we get greedy. So like this, the source of all of these bad qualities, it comes from envy. And we see that this is how the lens that Duryodhana and Dhritarashtra are observing the world through. They're seeing through this material attachment and this envy. And as the Bhagavad Gita goes on, we can see how that, or as this war of Mahabharata plays out, we can see how that works out for them. It doesn't work out. But then there's Arjuna, and he's a devotee of the Lord. Krishna tells him later in the Bhagavad Gita, I'm explaining this science, the supreme, most confidential knowledge to you because you're my devotee and you're my friend. He's the friend of Krishna. So it's explained in the Srimad Bhagavatam that a devotee, he sees things the way that the Supreme Personality of Godhead sees things. That's how he's looking at the world, which is pretty amazing. It's a nice reason to want to become a devotee. How incredible is that? No more mistaking things, no more being an illusion, but seeing things the way the Supreme Personality of Godhead is seeing. So that's how the pure devotee sees. He's not planning based on his planning. He's not desiring based on some personal agenda or doing things as I want to do them, seeing things as I want to see them. But no, he's planning as Krishna wants to plan, desiring as Krishna desires, seeing as Krishna sees. But even though Arjuna, we understand he's a devotee of the Lord, something seems a little bit off here. Because in the first chapter, he asked Krishna to draw my chariot in the middle of the two parties. I want to see both sides of the battlefield. And then he begins to get this intense anxiety. And even though Krishna wants this fight to happen, he tells Krishna, Govinda, I shall not fight. So we can see here some of the verses. Here we go. Here's one of the things when he gets into the middle of the armies. Okay. So Arjuna said, "My dear Krishna, seeing my friends and relatives present before me in such a fighting spirit, I feel the limbs of my body quivering and my mouth drying up." And in the purport, we see, "Any man who has genuine devotion to the Lord has all the good qualities which are found in godly persons or in the demigods, whereas the non-devotee, however advanced he may be in material qualifications, by education and culture, lacks in godly qualities. As such, Arjuna, just after seeing his kinsmen, friends, and relatives on the battlefield, was at once overwhelmed by compassion for them, who had so decided to fight amongst themselves." And we see later on down in the purport, "This overwhelmed a kind devotee like Arjuna. Although it is not mentioned here, still one can easily imagine that not only were Arjuna's bodily limbs quivering and his mouth drying up, but that he was also crying out of compassion. Such symptoms in Arjuna were not due to weakness, but to his soft-heartedness, a characteristic of a pure devotee of the Lord." So we see two things were happening. Duryodhana and Dhritarashtra, they were going against Krishna's instructions. And just now, Arjuna, we also see he's going against Krishna's instructions. He's saying, I will not fight. So Duryodhana and Dhritarashtra, they were just like an ordinary materialistic person. They had this material attachment, so they denied Krishna. They said, I'll do what I want to do. But here, we have this understanding, right, that Arjuna is a devotee, but he's saying, Krishna, I won't do what you want me to do. I'll do what I want to do. So how's that happening? But we see here in the purport, Prabhupada said, these symptoms in Arjuna were not due to weakness, which is that material attachment. Because of material attachment, we become weak. We don't do what is the right thing. We might know it is the right thing, but out of that material attachment, we become weak and end up doing the wrong thing. But Prabhupada says Arjuna is not like that. These symptoms in Arjuna were not due to weakness, but due to his soft-heartedness, a characteristic of a pure devotee of the Lord. So we can't say Arjuna, he's a materialist. He's materially attached, therefore he's not listening to Krishna. He's still a pure devotee. So what's going on here? It seems contradictory. How is he a pure devotee? And then he's also declining to act under Krishna's instructions. But we can see it. It unfolds a little bit more. Arjuna said, my body is trembling and my hair is standing on end. My bow Gandiva is slipping from my hand and my skin is burning. In the purport, there are two kinds of trembling of the body and two kinds of standings of the hair on end. Such phenomena occur either in great spiritual ecstasy or out of great fear under material conditions. There is no fear in transcendental realization. Okay, again, how is it happening? Arjuna is supposedly a devotee, but he's saying he's fearful. But in the purport, we're seeing there's no fear in transcendental realization, so it's a big mystery. Arjuna's symptoms in this situation are out of material fear, namely loss of life. This is evident from other symptoms also. He became so impatient that his famous bow Gandiva was slipping from his hands, and because his heart was burning within him, he was feeling a burning sensation of the skin. All these are due to a material conception of life. So are people's minds chewing on this idea a little bit? Is there some mystery here, some suspense? In the last purport, we're hearing Arjuna, he's a characteristic of a pure devotee of the Lord. And in this one, we're hearing all these are due to a material conception of life. What can it be? How is it happening? So, we'll have to go a little bit further into the text. So Arjuna gives more arguments on why he shouldn't fight. He's giving many of his ideas, his plans. Krishna, this won't work out well because if we die, or if our enemies die, then this will give rise to will kill all of the husbands of the women on the enemy side, and then the women will be unprotected. And they'll be taken advantage of and give birth to bad children. This is one reason. He says, I don't see any good that can come from killing them, because even if we win, then who do we have to share the kingdom with? Everyone will be dead. So he's giving good arguments, but again, they're his arguments. They're not Krishna's arguments. They're not Krishna's plan. Let's see. He gives some more arguments. We'll become sinful. Sin will overcome us if we slay such aggressors. Therefore, it is not proper for us to kill the sons of Dhritarashtra and our friends. Also, here's a good one. Although these men overtaken by greed see no fault in killing one's family or quarreling with friends, we can see Duryodhana and Dhritarashtra, they don't, especially Duryodhana, he doesn't see anything as being too wrong for him to do. He's the worst person. And before the Bhagavad Gita happened, he was ordering the most chaste woman, the best lady, Draupadi, the best devotee. He was ordering her to be stripped of her clothing in an assembly of all actually respectable elder people. It's like the worst situation, but he's thinking that's okay. So Arjuna is saying, yeah, they're very lowly minded, Duryodhana and them. They don't see a fault in killing one's family and quarreling with friends. But why should we, who have knowledge of the sin, engage in these acts? It's another good argument. And he gives some more. But we see here, how is it that he is a devotee, but also in this material conception? It is explained a little bit later on. Well, I don't want to keep you waiting too long. I'm not seeing it right now, but I'll just explain it from memory. So Arjuna, he is a devotee of the Lord, and that's always there. That's his eternal constitutional position, is that he's a pure devotee. But when he's standing there on the battlefield, he sees his relatives, and temporarily, by the will of the Lord, he is put into this illusion. Just temporarily, he's put into this material affection, this bewilderment that's getting in the way of his service to Krishna. So that doesn't mean that he's a materialist. No. But he always has that eternal position of a pure devotee that can't be wiped off the slate. But by the will of the Lord, when he's seeing the family members, this material affection is rising in him, and he's temporarily put into this state of bewilderment. It's a part of Krishna's pastime, so that they can speak the Bhagavad Gita. So he's a pure devotee, and by Krishna's will, he's being temporarily put into this material affection, thinking, how can I actually kill these family members? So this actually brings us to a good point of why the Bhagavad Gita will be spoken, because Krishna arranges all of his pastimes by his energy, his will. And he's speaking this Bhagavad Gita to bring Arjuna from this position of this mixed, partly pure devotion, I'm a pure devotee of Krishna, going to do what he says, partly material attachment. I know what Krishna wants me to do, but I'm stuck in the mix here. I don't think that I should fight them for these reasons. So Krishna doesn't just want our mixed feelings or our mixed efforts, but he wants pure, like gold. He wants our pure devotion. So he's speaking this Bhagavad Gita to bring us to that stage of pure devotion. And I phrase that like he wants it or like he needs something. Krishna doesn't need anything from us. He's totally self-satisfied. Everything is emanating from him. What could he possibly need? But we can benefit and we can become happy by engaging in his service. So for the benefit of the living entities, he's showing us how to do that, how to come to the stage of pure devotional service. So here we see these two examples. We have Duryodhana and Dhritarashtra, gross materialists. They have this attachment and this envy. That's not going to change. But there's Arjuna, who's in a situation similar to us. We know what Krishna wants us to do, and sometimes, somehow or other, something gets in the way. So we can benefit from hearing the questions that Arjuna is asking and hearing Krishna's answer to them, because we're in a very similar position. Of course, nowhere near as exalted as Arjuna, but a similar position in the sense that we can be engaged in pure devotional service in this lifetime, we see many examples of great devotees who have perfected their lives and become a pure devotee of Krishna and gone back to Godhead, not being any more subjected to this material world with all of its hangups, old age, birth, death, disease, all these things. So we can benefit from hearing how Arjuna is brought from this position of this mixed material attachment and devotion to pure devotional service. And by the end of the Bhagavad Gita, our vision should change. We shouldn't be seeing things anymore on, okay, I want to do like this. Krishna gives this reasoning, but I want to use my own reasoning. Our vision should actually change, just like Arjuna's. In the beginning, he's saying, Govinda, I shall not fight. But in the end, he says, I have heard from you. My doubts are now dispelled, and I will fight. So his vision changes. He goes from not wanting to go with Krishna's instruction to wanting to follow exactly what Krishna says. So like that, by hearing the Bhagavad Gita, we should also have that change of heart as well, that change of vision. So that brings us to one other very interesting topic, that how is Krishna seeing things? He's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So he's always interesting. And Krishna means all attractive. So every person, every living entity is attracted to God somehow or other. Many of you have met Swami, who lives here, His Holiness Danavirga Goswami. He is a disciple of Srila Prabhupada, and he established this temple. And those of you who haven't met him, there may be a chance we can speak with him later today. But sometimes he's reading this book called Dialectic Spiritualism. And this book is showing all the greatest philosophers, all the greatest scientists and the greatest thinkers who shape our worldview today. The ones who, their influence is in all of the textbooks. And so it gives their view of the world. Some disciples of Srila Prabhupada present it to him, and then Srila Prabhupada answers it or argues with it with the Vedic view of the world and shows some points that they're getting pretty spot on, some ideas of the soul, we're not the body's temporary, karma, some of these things, and then showing other ways where they're incorrect, such as a big one that many of these greatest scientists of today say, oh, there's no God, many of the big philosophers. But the wonderful thing about this is we see even these philosophers and these scientists who say, there's no God, there's no such thing, even they themselves, they can't stop talking about God. It's page after page of their articles, their books, and their philosophies, and they're saying, yes, there's no God. The basis of our philosophy actually is that we don't even need to consider God. So we're not going to speak about God. God won't come up in the discussion. And then 5 pages later, they're still saying, so God, we won't talk about him. So like this, Krishna is all attractive. Even if someone tries to get away from him, they're not going to get away. Everyone knows something of God, and he's always in the center, no matter what you do. So how is Krishna seeing the world? There's a few factors to this, but we see something. Here's another interesting mystery. Duryodhana and Dhritarashtra, they don't want to fight. And Krishna says that that's wrong. They're incorrect. Duryodhana, he wants to fight, but Krishna's saying they're wrong. They're incorrect. They're demons. Arjuna, he doesn't want to fight. Krishna's saying you're also wrong. How is that happening? So one side doesn't want to fight. One side does want to fight. Krishna's saying they're both wrong. So how is that? The thing is that no matter, both of them are on the platform they're working on the platform of the mind, this material platform. Duryodhana is thinking, I want this. I want the kingdom. This is how my senses will be satisfied. I will fight. Arjuna is thinking, I won't be satisfied. My family members will be dead. I won't have anyone to show the kingdom to. I'll be unhappy. My men, they will be unhappy. I won't fight. So both of these desires are coming from the mind. And as long as one is on this mental platform, then it's not pure. Because essentially we want to get to the transcendental platform, the spiritual platform, doing things as Krishna wants them to do. So whether they fight or don't fight, as long as it's coming from this personal desire, they're both wrong. That's the point. So Krishna wants the living entities to do things and to see things according to the way he sees them and according to the way that he's instructing them, not for his personal gain. He has everything. He has, even when he comes to this material world, he had 16,108 wives. And it's not that he had 16,108 wives and saw each of them one day in every 16,000 days, but he's with all of them simultaneously doing different activities, and each of them gets their own palace. Krishna is reciprocating with each of them in their own personal way. So what can someone possibly give to Krishna that he doesn't have? That's not possible. He's served by the unlimited numbers of the goddesses of fortune, and every person in the material world is trying to please the goddess of fortune in some way. Let me get a little bit of money, a little bit of health, a little bit of some kind of fortune. That comes from the goddess of fortune. So Krishna is served by millions of them. There's nothing that we could possibly give him, but he's instructing us for our benefit. So the way that he is seeing things is, he explains in the Bhagavad Gita that, what's the one that ends in yuge yuge? Sambhavami yuge yuge. Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya chaduskritam dharma samstarpanartaya sambhavami yuge yuge. So this is one reason that Krishna appears, to annihilate the miscreants, the demons. I wish I could find the purports to these specific points, because Prabhupada makes such amazing points about Krishna's appearance. One of them being that Krishna, to annihilate demons, he doesn't need to personally appear. He's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So if he wants, he can just cause some environmental disaster and they're done. He's in the heart of every living being. He can just stop their heart and they're done. So it's not that he necessarily needs to come just to get rid of the demons. But what is the other reason? The sadhunam. He comes for the sadhus, or the devotees, and to save his devotees. But again, not just to save them from the demons, but we'll see in some of the purports, because he doesn't, again, if I say he's coming just to save the devotees, that seems odd. Because again, he can save them just with some environmental change or something like that, and they'll be good to go. But what's the real thing that is distressing the devotees is their separation from Krishna. The devotee wants to render service to the Lord always and give their love, their attention, and their service to the Lord. And they get into great tribulation from their separation to Krishna. So he comes for the satisfaction of his devotees so that they can personally serve him and he can engage in these loving exchanges with his devotees. So this is the way that Krishna is seeing the world, is that he's seeing out of pure love. He's seeing out of, he loves his devotee. And when the devotee agrees to love Krishna, to serve Krishna with their full heart, soul, mind, body, words, everything, then he says he also becomes the devotee of that devotee, essentially. The devotee, they agree to serve Krishna, and then Krishna wants to serve the devotee. Prabhupada says that in one of the purports here, that one name of Krishna, Hrishikesh, it means master of the senses. So, and Prabhupada also says in the purport that Hrishikesh also means that the devotee, they want to serve Krishna, and Krishna wants to serve the devotee. Yeah, that is cool. The Supreme Person, he wants to be devoted to the person who is devoted to him. So he's speaking the Bhagavad Gita so that Arjuna can understand, okay, I see that you purely love me, so I will agree to purely love you and abide by your instructions. So Krishna is seeing through this pure love. So these are some of the points on the way that the three parties are seeing and observing things. In chapter 1, observation of the armies on the battlefield. Thank you for listening. Are there any comments or questions or noteworthy points? I can't see the time. Can I get a time update? 5:08. Okay. Yes, Jagannath Prabhu. I don't see the other mic. Use this mic if you want.
I wrote it down on my notes app. So, sorry. So we were talking about Arjuna's fear of loss of life. Was this for his family members or for his own loss of life? Because I feel like this is really what stops us from truly surrendering to Krishna is fear of losing our own life. Would it be that for Arjuna, or was it just his family members?
So even though Arjuna is a pure devotee of Krishna, and that's never changed, while he's in this temporary material bewilderment that's brought about by the Lord, he is seeing, from this bodily conception of life. So with the bodily conception of life, nothing's going to go well because we're not the body. So it's just like if you do a big math equation and you write out the whole chalkboard, E equals MC squared and this and divided by this. If you had one little thing at the beginning wrong, like 1 + 1 = 5, and then the rest of the whole thing, great algebra, great arithmetic, all these things were correct, the whole equation is going to come out wrong. So the very basis here is this misunderstanding, and then the proper thing can't happen. So from this bodily conception of life, he says, Prabhupada emphasizes these specific words in some of his lectures on the Bhagavad Gita, that Arjuna is saying, my men. So that I won't get to enjoy the kingdom with, he's seeing that there's a difference. There's my men, my people. This is still the bodily platform. On a lower standard, we might just see, or someone might just see things based on me, I and mine. So that won't be good for my body. I'll become uncomfortable, and that won't be good for my possessions. They might get damaged. So this is like a lower platform. And then one might go a little bit higher, and they're seeing things based on just my community or my family. So this is where he was at. He's seeing either way, they're still the same selfish platform, still I and mine, even though now it's some other people, but they're still mine. I'm caring because it's my family, my men. So like this, because he has this bodily conception of life, then how can you know what to do if the beginning of the equation is wrong? So luckily, one of the first things Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita is that you see the boy is changing to an old man, to a dead person. It's Dehi nosmin yata dehe komaram yovanam jara tata dehantara. Yeah, he had many concerns. Magadari, were you saying it's, what is it? RT? Okay, so thank you all so much for listening about Srimad Bhagavad Gita. It's the best to read it every day. So hopefully we can do some more of that. And now we're going to have an RT ceremony so we can move to the front and sing and dance for the pleasure of their lordships. Shri Shri Gaura Nitai. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Julian is going to lead.
Yeah, that's okay. All right, go over, boo. Good luck. Okay. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you. Iba Jaya Jaya Gora Chande Aratika Shobha. Iba Jaya Jaya Gora Chande Aratika Shobha. Danavi Tatavane Jagamanava. Gorange Tikshobha Jagajanamava. Gorange Tikshobha Jagajanamava. Nitai Gora Hariba 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 Nitai Hariba. Dakine Nitai Chan Bame Gada Gada. Nikate Advaita Srini Vasa Chachadara. Bosi Achi Gurachan Ratna Simhasane. Arati Korein Brahma Adi Devagane.
Nada Hari Hari Kuri Chamara Dulaya. Sanjaya Mukunda Basu Roshadi Gaya. Shanka Baji Kanta Baji 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 Madhuram Danga Baji Param Shankar Baje, Kanta Baje, Madhu, Madhu, Madhu Baje. Shankar Baje, Kanta Baje, Madhu, Madhu, Madhu Baje. Itai go to Haribo, 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 Itai go to Haribo. Mahu Kosi Chandrajini Varanaushpala. Jala Deshe Vanamala Guru Jala Shiva Shuka Narada Preme Gada Gada Prakati Venoda Deke Roda Sampaya Nita go to Haribo, Haribo, Haribo. Nita go to Haribo. Nita go to Haribo, Haribo, Haribo. Haribo. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Shri Mati Bhakti Vedanta Nam Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyapari Paschata Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi the Bhakta Vrinda. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi the Bhakta Vrinda. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Govinda Jaya Jaya, Gopala Jaya Jaya. 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 Hare Madhari Govinda Jaya Jaya. Hare Madhari Govinda Jaya. Nitai Govinda Jaya, Nitai Govinda. Nitai Govinda Jaya, Nitai Govinda. Nitai Govinda Jaya, Nitai Govinda. Nitai Gauranga Jaya Nitai Gauranga Nitai Gauranga Jaya Nitai Gauranga Jaya Jai Sachinandana Jaya Sachinandana Jai Sachinandana Jaya Sachinandana Jaya Sachinandana Jaya Sachinandana Jaya Sachinandana Jaya Sachinandana Jaya Sachinandana Goda Hare Jaya Sachinandana Goda Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Om Vishnu Pada Paramahamsa Parirab Jakacharya Ashotada Shata Sri Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktis Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnu Pada Paramahamsa Pariyab Jakacharya Ashotada Shata Sri Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Go Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koda Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Hari Das Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Dwaisa Gadadhar Shri Vatsadi Gauda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shamakuda Radha Kunda Gita Govardhana Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Mathura Dham Ki Jai. Navadweep Dham Ki Jai. Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Tulsi Devi Ki Jai, Jamuna Mai Ki Jai, Ganga Mai Ki Jai, Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai, Gaura Premanande, Hari Hari Bo. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Namaste Narasimhaya. Hiranyakashipur Vakshaha Shilatankana Kalaye Ito Nrsimha Parato Nrsimho Yato Yato Yami Tato Nrsimha Pahi Nrsimho Nrsimho Narasimha Maring Sharanam Prapadye Tavakara Kamalavare Raka Adbhuta Shringa Dalita Hiranyakashipu Tanubringa Keshavadrita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare. Tanubringa Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Lord Nrsingadev ki jai, Prahlad Maharaj ki jai, jai, jai. Hey Krishna.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Thank you everybody for coming. So we're having the Ekadashi that's coming up in a few days. On Tuesday, we'll be fasting, at least from grains and beans. It's called Nirjala Pandava Ekadashi. This is a special Ekadashi day, but we emphasize fasting from grains and beans. If you'd like to try, you can do that vrat. It's very simple, and you get a lot of spiritual benefit from fasting from grains and beans on that Ekadashi day. And the next day, there's a fast time, and I think I can pull it up for everyone. It's really nice that everyone came here. Hare Krishna, please. We're going to request if anybody would like to give some sponsor for today's feast. We prepared a nice feast, and we